They thought I was the stray who should be grateful for scraps, when the Cabernet hit my face and everyone laughed. I wiped my cheeks, then pressed play on the TV and watched the county deed office load. The name on the screen wasn't hers anymore. It was mine. And the sheriff was already at the door. 20 years of humiliation ended not with screams or violence, but with a notarized stamp and perfect timing. This Thanksgiving, the turkey wasn't the only thing that got carved. My name is Ava Dalton, and I've spent 6 Thanksgivings memorizing the fault lines in Eleanor Pike's dining room like a geologist studying tectonic plates. Each year, the patterns become clearer: who sits where, who gets served first, whose stories get the warmest laughter. I'm 34, a senior loan underwriter at Harborline Mortgage Services, and I understand documents better than most people understand their own families. Tonight, that knowledge sits in a slim leather portfolio beside my chair, waiting. The Pike House in Raven Oaks, Michigan, sprawls across 2 acres of manicured lawn, all colonial columns and leaded glass windows that catch November's dying light. Eleanor loves telling guests it's been in the family since 1923, as if the ghosts of dead industrialists still patrol the hallways. She's 58, silver-haired, with the kind of surgical perfection that costs more than my annual salary. Everything about her is curated: the Hermes scarves, the subtle Botox, the way she says "bless your heart" when she means something else entirely. Mark, my husband, carves the turkey with the same tentative strokes he uses to navigate life. 36 years old and still asking his mother's permission with his eyes before making any decision. He glances at me occasionally, sensing something different in my posture tonight, but he won't ask. That would require choosing a side. "Ava, dear," Eleanor says, her voice like champagne over broken glass. "Would you mind fetching the cranberry sauce from the kitchen, the one in the Waterford bowl? Not the—" she pauses, eyes flicking to my dress from Target. "Everyday china." I know the rules. The Waterford is for family. The everyday china is for me, the woman who trapped her son with what she calls my middle-class enthusiasm. I stand, smooth my dress, and walk to the kitchen, counting each step. The leather portfolio stays by my chair. Unnoticed. The kitchen smells like sage and passive aggression. Eleanor's sister Patricia whispers something to cousin Janet, both of them glancing at me with that familiar mixture of pity and superiority. They think I don't know about their group texts, the ones where they dissect my grocery store wine contributions and my husband's diminishing potential since he married beneath him. I retrieve the Waterford bowl, its weight familiar in my hands. 3 weeks ago, I held a different kind of weight, a stack of documents from Pinecrest Title and Escrow showing Eleanor's second mortgage, the HELOC she'd maxed out, the 3 months of missed payments hidden behind her facade of wealth. The paperwork told a story Eleanor would never speak aloud: maxed credit cards, liquidated investments, a lifestyle propped up by borrowing against this very house. Back in the dining room, I set the bowl precisely where Eleanor indicates with one manicured finger. The placement matters. Everything in this room has a hierarchy. From the seats, Eleanor at the head, Mark to her right, me relegated to the corner near the kitchen door to the serving order family by blood, then by marriage length, then me. "Your Brussels sprouts were interesting this year," Eleanor observes, addressing the table more than me. "Though next time, perhaps less garlic. Not everyone shares your robust preferences." Mark shifts uncomfortably. "Mom, they were fine. Of course they were. Darling." Eleanor's smile could frost windows. "Ava tries so hard." The leather portfolio seems to pulse beside my chair. Inside, there's a notarized deed with my name on it, acquired through Larkspur Holdings LLC, a company I created specifically for this moment. There's also a receipt from the sheriff's department, confirming the process server I hired for 7:45 p.m. tonight. It's now 6:30 p.m., and Eleanor is pouring her 3rd glass of Cabernet, the one that always makes her feel invincible. "Remember last year?" Patricia chimes in, her voice bright with malice. When Ava brought that store-bought pie, it was from a bakery, I say quietly. A local bakery. Of course it was. Dear. Eleanor's laugh tinkles like breaking crystal. We can't all have time for proper homemaking. Some of us have our little jobs to worry about. My little job. The one that taught me to read liens, trace ownership histories, and recognize when someone is drowning in debt while wearing Chanel. The one that showed me exactly how to acquire a distressed property when the owner defaults. The one that gave me the knowledge to wait, prepare, and strike. The conversation flows around me like water around a stone. They discuss vacation homes I'll never be invited to, country clubs where my name will never appear on the guest list, traditions I'm permitted to witness but never truly join. Mark laughs at his cousin's story about their shared childhood, his hand never quite reaching for mine across the table. I excuse myself to the bathroom, but instead stop in the hallway, pulling out my phone. One text to my lawyer, Dina Calder. Confirmation for 7:45 p.m. Her response is immediate. Confirmed. Server en route. Documents certified. Recording number ready for display. When I return, Eleanor is regaling the table with the story of how her grandmother hosted 30 people for Thanksgiving during the Depression, how this house has always been about family, about maintaining standards, about knowing who belongs and who doesn't. Some people, she says, eyes finding mine, understand that heritage isn't something you can buy your way into. I smile, thinking of the quitclaim deed that transferred this heritage into my name 72 hours ago, filed quietly at the county recorder's office while Eleanor was getting her weekly facial. The turkey is perfectly golden, the stuffing is seasoned just right, and in exactly 1 hour and 15 minutes, Eleanor Pike will learn what happens when you mistake someone's silence for submission. The gravy boat passes from hand to hand, and I reach for it just as Eleanor does. Our fingers brush, and she recoils as if I've burned her. The boat tilts. 3 drops of gravy splatter onto the ivory damask tablecloth, each one spreading like a tiny brown accusation. The room freezes. Oh, God, Mark breathes, and I realize this tablecloth is another heirloom, another piece of the Pike mythology that I've just desecrated. Eleanor rises slowly, deliberately, her movement drawing every eye. She lifts her wine glass, still half full of Cabernet, and I know what's coming before she speaks. I've seen this performance before, just never as the star. You know, she says, voice carrying the kind of theatrical disappointment she's perfected over decades. In my family, we were taught that grace isn't just about prayer before meals, it's about conducting oneself with dignity, with care for beautiful things. She swirls the wine, watching it catch the light. But I suppose not everyone receives that kind of upbringing. Patricia murmurs agreement. Janet actually laughs, a nervous titter that sounds like breaking twigs. I'll clean it, I say, reaching for my napkin. No, Eleanor's voice cuts sharp. No, dear, you've done enough. Perhaps I should show you the proper way to handle stains. After all, someone needs to teach you these things. She moves closer, and I can smell her perfume Tom Ford, something with jasmine that costs $400 an ounce. The wine glass tilts in her hand, and I watch it happen in slow motion, the deliberate turn of her wrist, the arc of deep red liquid through the air, the splash across my face and chest. The Cabernet is warm. It runs down my cheeks like blood, soaking into my dress, pooling in my collarbone. I taste tannins and humiliation. The laughter starts with Janet, that same nervous sound then spreads. Not everyone laughs. Mark's Aunt Martha looks horrified. His cousin David stares at his plate. But enough laugh. Enough find it amusing that Eleanor Pike has put me in my place. That the woman who dared marry into this family has been marked with wine like a scarlet letter. Mom, Mark finally says, but it's weak, more surprise than outrage. Oh, don't be dramatic, darling, Eleanor says, setting down her empty glass with satisfaction. It's just wine, I'm sure Ava knows how to handle a little stain. Don't you, dear? All that experience with practical matters? I stand slowly, wine dripping onto the Persian rug. My hands don't shake. They haven't shaken since I signed the papers at Larkspur Holdings LLC, since I wrote the check that would destroy Eleanor Pike's carefully constructed world. Excuse me, I say, my voice steady as a level. I need to clean up. In the kitchen, I don't go to the sink first. Instead, I pull out my phone and open the banking app, confirming the wire transfer that cleared this morning the final payment for Eleanor's outstanding debt, purchased at a sheriff's sale she didn't even know had happened. The previous owner, Eleanor Pike, had 60 days to redeem. Those 60 days passed yesterday at 5 p.m. I wash my face in the kitchen sink, watching the Cabernet swirl down the drain. The stainless steel reflects my face back at me, distorted but determined. Behind me, I hear footsteps. Ava. It's Mark, finally coming to check. Jesus, I'm sorry. She's had too much to drink. I turn to face him, water still dripping from my chin. Has she? You know how she gets during holidays, the stress of hosting, and she's been under financial pressure. I suggest? He frowns. What? No. Why would you say that? No reason? I pat my face dry with a paper towel, the cheap kind Eleanor keeps hidden for the help. Mark, do you know what happens when someone takes out a home equity line of credit and doesn't pay it back? What are you talking about? Just curious? Professional interest? He looks uncomfortable, the way he always does when I mention my work, as if being married to someone who understands mortgage documents is somehow embarrassing. I don't know. Foreclosure. Sometimes. Or sometimes the debt gets packaged and sold. Sometimes a small LLC nobody's heard of buys it for cents on the dollar. And sometimes, if the original owner doesn't respond to legal notices sent to an address they don't actually live at anymore, say, a P.O. box they forgot to check ownership transfers completely. Ava, what? My phone buzzes. 7:43 p.m. The process server is 2 minutes early. We should get back, I say, smoothing my ruined dress. I wouldn't want to miss dessert. In the dining room, Eleanor has refilled her glass and is holding court, explaining to the table how some people simply aren't raised to appreciate fine things, how it's not really their fault, how we must be patient with those who are trying to rise above their circumstances. I sit back down, feeling the weight of every stare. The leather portfolio beside my chair remains unopened, but not for long. Through the dining room window, I can see headlights turning into the driveway. You know, Eleanor, I say, interrupting her mid-sentence. You're right about appreciation. Some people don't appreciate things until they're gone. She laughs, that crystalline sound that's cut me so many times before. How profound. Dear, did you read that on a motivational poster at your little office? The doorbell rings. I'll get it, I say, standing. Sit down, Eleanor commands. Patricia, see who's interrupting dinner. But I'm already walking to the foyer, my wine-stained dress a battle flag. Behind me, I hear chairs scraping, people following out of curiosity. Good. I want witnesses. I open the door to find exactly who I expected, a man in his 50s with a kind face and a folder of legal documents. Behind him, a sheriff's deputy waits by a patrol car, standard procedure for serving papers on a holiday when emotions run high. Ms. Dalton, the process server asks. Yes? I have documents for Eleanor Pike. Is she home? I turn back to find Eleanor standing in the doorway to the dining room, her face twisted in confusion that's about to become something much worse. What is this? She demands. Eleanor Pike, the server asks. Obviously. He extends the folder. You're being served with a notice to quit and terminate tenancy. You have 30 days to vacate the premises. The silence that follows is complete. Perfect. A moment I'll carry forever like a photograph in my wallet. Eleanor's face cycles through confusion, indignation, and then, as she opens the folder and reads, a dawning horror that makes the Cabernet on my dress worth every penny. 3 months ago, I stayed late at Harborline Mortgage Services, running routine audits on HELOC defaults. It's tedious work that most underwriters hate, but I've always found comfort in the patterns. The way financial distress leaves fingerprints across documents like a signature, that's when I saw it. Eleanor Pike's name on a notice of default. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Eleanor Pike, who wore different Cartier watches for each day of the week, but the address matched 47 Thornwood Drive, Raven Oaks. The numbers didn't lie. $400,000 borrowed against the house, payments missed for 90 days, penalties accruing like cancer cells. I should have felt sympathy. Instead, I felt the first stirring of something else opportunity. I remember driving home that night, Mark already asleep when I arrived. I sat in our cramped home office, laptop open, diving deeper into public records. The Pinecrest title and escrow database revealed a second mortgage taken out 2 years ago, maxed out equity lines, a pattern of borrowing that suggested someone frantically plugging holes in a sinking ship. The house itself was worth $1.2 million, but the liens totaled $800,000. Eleanor had been living on borrowed time and borrowed money, maintaining her facade with debt she couldn't service. I started keeping a file. Every document went into a cloud folder I labeled Thanksgiving. Property tax records showing late payments. Credit reports I shouldn't have been able to access but did through channels that exist in the gray zones of financial services. Each paper told part of the story: the failed investment in her friend's boutique vineyard, the money lost in a cryptocurrency scheme her financial advisor recommended, the maintaining of appearances that cost more each year as the principal dwindled. The sheriff's sale notice was posted 6 weeks ago, a small legal advertisement in the back of the Raven Oaks Gazette that no one reads anymore. Eleanor, who gets her news from cable television and society gossip, never saw it. The notice was also sent to her official address of record, a P.O. box she'd used for tax purposes and forgotten to update. I created Larkspur Holdings LLC on a Tuesday afternoon, using LegalZoom and a virtual address in Delaware. The filing fee was $300. The bank account required $1,000 to open. I used my bonus from work, the one Mark wanted to spend on a vacation to Eleanor's suggested resort in Cabo, the morning of the sheriff's sale. I was the only bidder who showed up. The auctioneer looked bored, reading the legal description in a monotone while I stood in the courthouse lobby, the only sound the clicking of someone's heels down the marble corridor. I bid $500,001, just enough to cover the primary mortgage. The gavel came down at 9:18 a.m. The redemption period was 60 days. Eleanor had 60 days to pay everything she owed, plus interest and fees, to reclaim the house. I watched those days pass like a countdown timer. She posted photos from charity galas, wearing gowns that cost more than my monthly salary. She had Mark and me over for dinner, where she served wine that cost $300 a bottle while her house slipped away into my hands. I hired Dina Calder after interviewing 6 lawyers. She specialized in real estate law, had a reputation for being thorough, and most importantly, understood discretion. We met in her office overlooking Lake Michigan, where she reviewed my paperwork with the kind of attention I recognized from my own work. "This is all legal," she said, adjusting her glasses. Unusual, perhaps, but legal. The previous owner was properly notified according to state law. The sale was conducted appropriately. The redemption period has expired. You are the lawful owner. And the eviction process. Notice to quit, then formal eviction proceedings if necessary. Though given the circumstances, she looked at me over her glasses. Family situations can be complicated. Not this one, I said. The deed was recorded at the county office on a Monday. I went during my lunch break, standing at the counter while a clerk named Brenda stamped the documents with the kind of heavy thunk that makes things official. She handed me the certified copy without even looking up. That night, Mark complained about his mother over dinner, how she'd criticized his presentation at work, how she'd suggested he could have done better if he'd gone to Wharton like she wanted instead of Michigan State. "She means well," he said, the phrase he always uses, like a prayer or an apology. I nodded, thinking of the deed in my safe deposit box, the power of paper and ink and legal authority. I'm sure she does. The week before Thanksgiving, I hired the process server, specifically requesting service during dinner on Thursday. It's a family matter, I explained. The timing is important. I also called the sheriff's department, explaining that I would be serving eviction papers in a potentially volatile domestic situation. They agreed to have a deputy nearby. Standard procedure for holiday service when families and alcohol mix. Eleanor called me 3 days before Thanksgiving, her voice sugar-sweet. Ava, dear, I do hope you're not planning anything too ambitious for dinner. Remember, we have traditions. My grandmother's stuffing recipe, the way we arranged the table. I wouldn't want you to feel overwhelmed. I understand, I said, looking at the QR codes I'd had printed, each one linking to the county recorder's webpage showing the deed transfer. I know exactly what's expected. The leather portfolio I chose was from Staples, but it looked expensive enough. Inside, I arranged the documents in order: the certified deed, the notice to quit, the legal description of the property, printouts of every missed payment, every default notice Eleanor had ignored, a complete paper trail of how Eleanor Pike lost her house to her son's wife, the woman she'd spent 6 years trying to break. Mark noticed my preparation but said nothing. He's trained not to question his mother, and that training extends to anyone making plans in her shadow. Even when I had my friend from college, an AV technician, confirm he could stream the county recorder's website to any smart TV with a simple screen mirror from my phone, Mark didn't ask questions. Last night, I couldn't sleep. I lay beside Mark, thinking about every slight, every cutting remark, every time Eleanor made me feel small. The wine thrown in my face was just the latest in a long pattern of humiliations, each one designed to remind me of my place. But Eleanor made one crucial mistake. She assumed that because I came from a middle-class family, because I didn't inherit wealth or status, I didn't understand power. She confused quiet observation with submission, careful planning with weakness. At 3:42 a.m., I got up and checked the county website one more time. There it was, beautiful in its simplicity. Owner Ava Dalton, Larkspur Holdings LLC. The most expensive Thanksgiving revenge ever served. Bought with patience and paid for with the kind of knowledge Eleanor never bothered to acquire: how the real world works when the money runs out. Eleanor drops the folder, legal papers scattering across her imported Italian marble floor like fallen leaves. Her face has gone the color of the tablecloth she so carefully protects, and for a moment, I think she might faint. Patricia rushes to her side, but Eleanor waves her off with a hand that trembles. "This is a joke," she says, but her voice cracks. "This is some kind of sick joke." "Mrs. Pike," the process server says, his tone professionally neutral. "I need you to sign acknowledging receipt of these documents." "I'm not signing anything." Eleanor's voice rises, shrill now, the composure she wears like armor beginning to crack. "Get out of my house! Get out!" The deputy steps forward, not threatening, just present. "Ma'am, this is a legal service. You need to accept the documents." Mark finally finds his voice. What the hell is going on? I pick up the scattered papers, arranging them neatly. Your mother's house has been sold. Mark. She defaulted on her loans. I bought it at a sheriff's sale 8 weeks ago. The dining room has become a theater, every relative frozen in their seats, watching the show. Janet's mouth hangs open. David has his phone out, probably recording. Martha clutches her pearls, actual pearls, because in this family, the cliches are always literal. You, Eleanor's laugh is hysterical. You work at a mortgage company. You don't have the money to buy a doghouse, let alone my home. Larkspur Holdings LLC has the money, I correct. And Larkspur Holdings is me. Mark grabs my arm, harder than he's ever touched me before. Ava, what are you talking about? I pull free, straightening my wine-stained dress. I'm talking about your mother's financial situation, which she's been hiding from all of you. The second mortgage she took out, the home equity line she maxed out, The 3 months of missed payments that triggered the foreclosure. Lies! Eleanor spits, but her eyes dart to Patricia, to Janet, to anyone who might save her. Would you like to see the receipts? I walk back to the dining room, my heels clicking against the floor with the authority I've never felt in this house before. The leather portfolio sits where I left it, waiting. I pull out the documents, laying them on the table like tarot cards revealing a fortune. Here's the notice of default from July. Here's the sheriff's sale announcement from September. Here's the deed, recorded Monday at the county office. Mark picks up the deed, his face pale. This is real. As real as your mother's contempt for me. Eleanor storms in, her carefully styled hair beginning to escape its pins. You manipulated this. You used your position to steal. I used publicly available information to participate in a legal sale. Your mother didn't steal anything. Mark. She purchased an asset that was offered at public auction, the same way she might buy a painting or a car. Except this asset happened to be a house your mother could no longer afford. The notices went to the wrong address, Eleanor says desperately. I never received proper notification. They went to your address of record. I counter. The P.O. box you used for tax purposes, the one you listed on all your loan documents, the one you forgot to check for 3 months. Dina Calder warned me about this moment, the dangerous time when everything is revealed but not yet accepted. Eleanor's face has gone from pale to red, her hands clenched into fists. She looks like she wants to hit me, and part of me hopes she tries. The deputy is watching. You've been planning this, she says, the words coming out slowly as understanding dawns. You've been sitting at my table, eating my food, planning to steal my home. The way you've been sitting at that same table, drinking $300 wine while defaulting on your loans. How dare you? How dare I? What understand finance read public records? Make a legal purchase. All those things you thought I was too middle class to comprehend. Mark is still staring at the deed. Ava, we need to talk about this. There has to be a mistake. The only mistake, I say, pulling out my phone, was your mother thinking she could humiliate me forever without consequences. I open the screen mirroring app, and the TV in the living room, visible through the archway, flickers to life. The county recorder's website loads, and I navigate to the property search. I type in the address slowly, letting everyone see each keystroke. The record appears 47 Thornwood Drive. Owner Larkspur Holdings LLC. Ava Dalton, managing member. That's photoshopped, Patricia says weakly. It's the official county website, I reply. Anyone can verify it. Go ahead, use your phones. David already is, his fingers flying across his screen. Holy shit, he breathes. It's real. Ava owns the house. Eleanor sinks into her chair, my chair now. Technically, every piece of furniture, every heirloom, every carefully curated object in this house belongs to me unless she removes it in the next 30 days. Mom, Mark says, is it true about the loans? Eleanor's silence is admission enough. How much, he asks? $800,000. I answer for her. Against a house worth $1.2 million. She's been underwater for a year, using credit cards to make payments until those maxed out too. But the galas, Janet says stupidly. The charity events, the donations. All for show, I say. The donations were pledges she never fulfilled. The gowns were rented or bought and returned. The jewelry, except for a few pieces paste copies of things she sold months ago. Eleanor looks at me with pure hatred. You vindictive little bitch. The deputy steps forward. Ma'am, I need you to calm down. Calm down. This parasite has stolen my home. I've purchased it legally. There's a difference. You knew I was in trouble and you took advantage. The way you knew I grew up without money and took advantage of that every single day for 6 years. She lunges then, not far, just enough to grab my wrist, her nails digging in. You will not get away with this. That's assault, the deputy says, moving quickly. Ma'am, step back. But Eleanor doesn't step back. She yanks me forward, and her other hand comes up, catching my hair. The pain is sharp, sudden, and exactly what I hoped for. "Stop!" Mark shouts, trying to separate us, but the deputy is already there, professional and firm, pulling Eleanor away. "That's enough," he says. "Ma'am, you need to calm down or I'll have to arrest you." Arrest me in my own home. "It's not your home," I say quietly, rubbing my scalp where several hairs have been pulled out. "Not anymore." The deputy looks at me. "Do you want to press charges?" Eleanor freezes. Everyone freezes. The moment stretches like spun glass, fragile and sharp. "Not if she signs the acknowledgement of service," I say. The process server, who's been watching this unfold with professional detachment, steps forward with his clipboard. Eleanor looks at it like it's a death warrant. "Sign it, Mom," Mark says quietly. "Just sign it." She signs with a hand that shakes so badly the signature is barely legible. "The notice gives you 30 days, I say, my voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding my system. "You can take your personal belongings, but the house and fixtures stay. I have a complete inventory from the insurance documents you filed last year, so I'll know if anything goes missing." "You can't do this," Eleanor whispers. "It's already done." I turn to the rest of the frozen dinner party. "You're all welcome to stay for dessert. After all, this might be your last Thanksgiving in this house." The process server exits quietly, his job complete. The deputy lingers by the door, speaking into his radio in low tones, confirming the situation is under control but standing by. Through the window, his patrol car's lights pulse blue and red against the November darkness, painting Eleanor's perfect landscaping in alternating shades of emergency. Nobody moves. The grandfather clock in the hallway. My grandfather clock now ticks toward 8:15 p. The turkey sits cooling on its platter, the carefully arranged garnish wilting. The Waterford crystal catches the light from the chandelier, throwing tiny rainbows across Eleanor's stunned face. "Everyone out," Eleanor says suddenly, her voice hollow. "Dinner is over." "Eleanor, maybe we should—" Martha starts. "Get out." Eleanor screams, and it's the first time I've ever heard her completely lose control. "All of you get out of my house." "Mom," Mark says, reaching for her. She slaps his hand away. "You knew. You had to know. Living with her, sharing a bed with this thief." "I didn't know," Mark says, and the hurt in his voice almost makes me feel something. Almost. "Ava, how could you not tell me?" "The same way your mother didn't tell you about the loans," I reply. "The same way she didn't tell anyone she was drowning in debt while still demanding everyone worship at the altar of her good taste." Patricia gathers her purse, her face a mask of shock and something else embarrassment maybe, at being associated with this scene. Janet follows, whispering furiously to David, who's still recording on his phone. "Delete that!" Eleanor snaps at him. "It's evidence," I say calmly, "of assault." "David, I'd like a copy, please." David looks between us, then nods. "I'll email it to you." Eleanor turns on him. "You little careful," the deputy says from the doorway. "Ma'am, I strongly suggest you calm down." One by one, the relatives file out, none of them looking at Eleanor, none offering comfort or support. These people who laughed when she humiliated me, who joined in her games of social superiority, abandon her the moment her power evaporates. Even Patricia, her own sister, leaves without a word. Soon it's just the four of us, Eleanor, Mark, me, and the deputy maintaining his professional watch. "How much would it take?" Eleanor asks suddenly. "To buy it back? How much?" "It's not for sale." "Everything's for sale. You said yourself it's just an asset. Name your price." I walk to the dining room table, running my finger along its polished surface. "Dad, do you remember last Christmas when you gave everyone presents except me? You said you forgot, but then made a point of saying that watching everyone else open gifts should be present enough for someone like me. That's what this is about, petty revenge over Christmas presents. Or Easter, when you introduced me to your book club as Mark's current situation. Or my birthday, when you scheduled a family reunion the same day and told Mark I'd understand if he prioritized family. You're insane if you think, or tonight, I continue, when you threw wine in my face because I'm beneath you, except I'm not beneath you anymore. Eleanor, I'm your landlord, and you're being evicted. Mark sinks into a chair, one of my chairs. This is insane. Ava, you can't evict my mother. Legally, I can, and I am. We're married. This affects me too. The house is owned by Larkspur Holdings LLC, not by me personally. It's not marital property. I was very careful about that. He stares at me like he's never seen me before. Maybe he hasn't. You planned this whole thing, our entire marriage. Our marriage was real. Your mother's contempt was real. My response is real. The difference is, I used the law instead of wine. Eleanor pulls out her phone with shaking hands. I'm calling my lawyer. Good. Call him. He can explain that you had 60 days to redeem the property and didn't. He can explain that the sale was legal, the notice was proper, and the transfer is complete. He can also explain that if you're not out in 30 days, the sheriff will remove you. She dials anyway, her fingers fumbling. It goes to voicemail, of course it does. It's Thanksgiving night at 8:23 p.m. Richard, it's Eleanor Pike. There's an emergency. Call me immediately. She hangs up. Dials another number. Charles, it's Eleanor. I need what do you mean you heard? Already. How could you, David? That little bastard. The social network is already activating. David has probably texted half of Raven Oaks by now. By morning, everyone will know that Eleanor Pike lost her house to her son's wife, the nobody from nowhere who turned out to be somebody after all. The utilities stay on for 30 days, I inform her, pulling out a folder from my portfolio. After that, they'll be transferred to my name. Here's a list of moving companies. I've marked the ones that specialize in estate relocations. Eleanor throws the folder back at me, papers scattering. You think you've won? You think this makes you something you're still trash, just trash with a deed. Mom, Mark says. No, Eleanor says, rounding on him. You chose her. You chose this middle-class nothing over your family. And look what she's done. She's destroyed us. You destroyed yourself, I say quietly. I just bought the wreckage. The deputy shifts. Mrs. Dalton, are you safe to stay here tonight? It's the first time anyone in this house has ever put my safety first, asked about my well-being in the face of Eleanor's rage. I'm not staying, I say. I have a room at the Marriott. Mark looks up sharply. You're leaving. I've been sleeping at hotels for the past week. Did you not notice? No? Of course you didn't. I gather my portfolio, leaving the scattered papers on the floor. Let Eleanor clean up a mess for once. I'll be back tomorrow with a locksmith. The locks will be changed, but Eleanor will have keys for the next 30 days. After that, what? Eleanor demands. You'll live here. You'll pretend to be me. I'll sell it, I say simply. To developers. Probably. They've been circling this neighborhood for years, wanting to tear down these old houses and build condos. I've already had offers. The sound Eleanor makes isn't quite a scream, isn't quite a sob. It's something primal, the sound of someone watching their entire identity collapse. You can't. This house has been in my family. For 100 years. Yes, you mentioned that. Several hundred times. Actually. But legacy doesn't pay loans. Eleanor. And contempt doesn't earn forgiveness. I walk to the door where the deputy waits. Behind me, I hear Mark saying something to his mother, his voice low and urgent. I don't look back. I've spent 6 years looking back, analyzing every slight, cataloging every insult. Now I only look forward. Mrs. Dalton, the deputy says as he escorts me to my car. That was something. Yes, I agree, tasting wine and victory on my lips. It was. The Marriott lobby is quiet when I return, my heels clicking against marble that doesn't judge my origins. The desk clerk nods professionally. No questions about the wine stains on my dress or the slight tremor in my hands now that the adrenaline is fading. In the elevator, I catch my reflection in the bronze doors, hair mussed from Eleanor's grip. Mascara smudged, dress ruined. But my eyes are clear, clearer than they've been in 6 years. My phone buzzes continuously. Mark 47 missed calls, 18 texts ranging from, "We need to talk," to, "How could you do this?" to, "Please answer." I delete them all without reading the rest. Patricia 3 calls, probably wanting to know if I'm serious about the 30 days. David 1 text with a video attachment and, "This is fucking legendary." That one I save. At 9:41 p.m., Dinah Calder calls. "I heard," she says without preamble. David Pike is apparently live tweeting the whole thing. Legal Twitter is having a field day. "Is there any problem legally?" "None whatsoever. The sale was clean, the service was proper, and from what I'm seeing online, she assaulted you in front of witnesses. If anything, she's given you more ammunition." "I don't need ammunition." "I have the deed." "Yes," Dina says, and I can hear her smile. "You do?" After I shower, washing away the Cabernet and the smell of Eleanor's Tom Ford perfume, I order room service, $20 wine and a $40 steak, charging it to the credit card I'll pay off in full. Unlike Eleanor with her maxed-out collection, the food tastes like freedom. My phone rings again at 10:53 p.m. Unknown number, but I recognize the voice immediately. "You clever little bitch." Eleanor's words are slurred. Now she's moved from wine to something stronger. "Eleanor, you shouldn't be calling me without your lawyer present." "My lawyer." You know what Richard said when he called back. He said I'm fucked. That's the legal term. Apparently, fucked. Accurate. You think you're so smart? But you don't understand this town. These people. They'll never accept you. You'll be the woman who stole Eleanor Pike's house. I'll be the woman who bought it legally when Eleanor Pike couldn't pay her debts. She laughs, ugly and bitter. You really think it matters legal? You think anyone cares about legal when it comes to family, to heritage? The sheriff will care in 30 days. Mark will divorce you. Probably. That seems to surprise her. You don't care. I married Mark because I loved him, but I've spent 6 years watching him choose you over me. Every single time. Tonight, when you assaulted me. He said, "Mom," in protest. Not, "How dare you," or "Get off my wife." Just, "Mom." Like he was embarrassed by your behavior at a restaurant. So no, Eleanor, I don't care anymore. You've been planning this. Our whole relationship. You've been planning this. No, I've been planning this for 3 months, since I saw your name on the default list. But you've been building to this for 6 years. Every snide comment, every exclusion, every little cruelty you wrote this ending yourself. I'll destroy you. I'll make sure everyone knows what, that you're broke, that you've been living a lie, that the great Eleanor Pike is just another over-leveraged boomer who couldn't admit she was drowning. Please, tell everyone. Save me the trouble. There's silence, then a sound that might be crying. I can't tell and don't care. The house. She starts, and for the first time, her voice sounds old. My father was born in that house. My mother died in that house. And you leveraged it to the hilt to maintain appearances. You chose your image over your heritage. Eleanor, don't blame me for the consequences. You could have helped. If you knew I was in trouble, you could have. What offered my middle-class salary to save you, used my little job earnings to pay your debts, the same job you mocked, the same earnings you called inadequate. Family helps family. But I was never family to you. Was I? I was the interloper, the mistake, the phase Mark would grow out of. Remember last year's Christmas card, the one where you had everyone in matching sweaters except me, because you forgot to tell me about the photo. She's definitely crying now. Please, Ava, please. I'll apologize. I'll make it right. You'll apologize. Yes, publicly. I'll tell everyone I was wrong about you. I consider this, rolling the wine glass between my fingers. At Thanksgiving dinner, in front of everyone, you'd stand up and say, Ava Dalton is my equal, deserving of respect and love. Yes, you'd admit you've been cruel, petty, and classist. Yes, anything. Too late. That offer expired when the wine hit my face. You vindictive. Careful, you're being recorded. She hangs up. I pull out my laptop and log into the property management software I've been learning to use. There's so much to do scheduling inspections, getting estimates from developers, deciding whether to sell immediately or hold for a better market. The house is worth $1.2 million as is, but the land alone is worth nearly that much to the right buyer. 3 acres in Raven Oaks. With sewer and utilities already in place, developers will salivate. My phone buzzes with an email from David. The video is 43 minutes long, shot in portrait mode, but surprisingly steady. The crucial moments are all there: Eleanor throwing the wine, her lunge at me, her hand in my hair, the deputy pulling her away. The audio is clear too, every threat, every admission about the loans, every beautiful moment of her world collapsing. I forward it to Dina with a simple note, for the files. At 11:58 p.m., Mark texts one more time. I'm going to stay at Mom's tonight. We need to talk about our marriage when you're ready to be reasonable. I text back, the locks will be changed at noon tomorrow. She has 30 days. You have a decision to make. He doesn't respond. I pour another glass of wine, a nice Cabernet, coincidentally, and walk to the window. Somewhere across town, Eleanor Pike is lying awake in her ancestral home, counting down the days she has left. Somewhere, Mark is probably comforting her, choosing her again. Even now, somewhere. The gossip is spreading through Raven Oaks like wildfire, the story morphing with each telling. But here, in this anonymous hotel room, I raise my glass to my reflection in the window. The woman looking back at me isn't the same one who walked into that Thanksgiving dinner. That woman hoped for acceptance, for family, for belonging. This woman doesn't hope she holds the deed. Happy Thanksgiving, I tell my reflection, and drink. The wine tastes like victory. Friday morning arrives gray and cold. I dress carefully, a black pantsuit I bought for presentations at work. The kind of outfit Eleanor would call trying too hard, while her friends nodded knowingly. Today, I'm not trying anything. I'm simply doing. The locksmith meets me at the house at 11:45 a.m., 15 minutes early. His van reads Secure Solutions, and he's the kind of professional who doesn't ask questions about why a woman needs every lock changed on a mansion while a sheriff's deputy stands nearby. Eleanor's Lexus is in the driveway, but Mark's BMW is gone. The curtains twitch as I walk up the front path she's watching. Good. Every door, I tell the locksmith, handing him a list. Front, back, side entrance, garage, basement access, the pool house, and the shed. New deadbolts on all exterior doors. Big job, he says, calculating. 3 hours, maybe 4. Take your time. I'm paying for thoroughness, not speed. Eleanor appears at the door as he unloads his equipment. She's tried to put herself together, makeup applied, hair styled, but her eyes are swollen, and her hands shake as she holds her coffee mug. You don't need to do this today, she says. The 30 days. Start now. I finish. And you'll have keys. But these are my locks on my house, and I need to secure my property. Your property? She spits the words like they taste bad. The locksmith begins with the front door, working around Eleanor as she stands in the doorway like a ghost haunting her own life. I set up my laptop on the hood of my car, ostensibly working but really just wanting her to see me here, in control, unhurried. The neighbors are talking, Eleanor says after 20 minutes of silence. Judith Hartwell called this morning, and the Brennans, and everyone from the club. I'm sure they have opinions. They think you're a monster. I look up from my screen. Do they? Or are they secretly thrilled that Eleanor Pike, who's lorded her superiority over them for decades, has been brought down by her son's nobody wife. Her face flushes. She knows I'm right. The same people expressing shock and sympathy are probably delighting in her downfall over their morning coffee. A Mercedes pulls up Patricia, coming to check the damage in daylight. She parks behind my car and emerges wearing sunglasses despite the cloudy sky, the universal disguise of someone avoiding eye contact. "Eleanor," she says, then nods at me. "Ava." "Patricia, come to help your sister pack." She ignores this, walking past the locksmith to embrace Eleanor. They whisper together, Eleanor gesturing wildly while Patricia makes soothing sounds. Then Patricia walks over to me. "What will it take?" she asks quietly. "Everyone wants to know my price." "I'll pay you myself. 500,000. Cash. You sign the house back over to Eleanor, and this all goes away." "Where would you get 500,000 cash?" "Patricia. From your husband who doesn't know about your gambling debts." "Oh yes. Eleanor's not the only one whose finances I've researched. Amazing what public records reveal." Patricia's face drains of color. "You wouldn't." "I won't. Unlike you and your sister, I don't weaponize people's struggles for sport, but I won't be bought off either. This is cruel. Eleanor is 58 years old. Where will she go?" "The same places I would have gone if Mark had chosen her over me one more time and I'd finally left him. An apartment, a rental. Something within her means, which, given her lack of income and destroyed credit, won't be much." "You're enjoying this?" "I'm not enjoying anything. I'm completing a transaction." Mark's BMW pulls up at 12:37 p.m., just as the locksmith is starting on the back door. He looks exhausted, still wearing yesterday's clothes. He walks past his mother and aunt directly to me. "We need to talk." "So talk." "Privately." "No. Anything you say to me can be said here. Your mother loves an audience. Let's give her one." He glances at Eleanor, then back at me. "I want to know if there's any way to save our marriage." "That depends. Are you moving out of the house with your mother, or are you staying with your wife?" "It's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple. You bought my mother's house out from under her. I bought a house at a legal sale. That it happened to be your mother's was just poetic justice." "You're asking me to choose?" "No. Mark, I'm telling you that you already chose. Every time you let her insult me and said nothing. Every time you asked me to be the bigger person instead of asking her to be a decent one. Every time you made excuses for her cruelty, you chose." Eleanor walks over, Patricia trailing behind. "Mark, don't let her manipulate you." "The way you've manipulated him his whole life." I pull out a folder from my bag. "Mark, did you know your mother took out credit cards in your name? 3 of them? Maxed out, of course." His face goes white. "What?" "She had your social security number, your information. Easy enough to apply online. The bills went to her P.O. box." I hand him the credit reports I pulled legally, as his spouse. $27,000 in your name." Eleanor's mouth opens and closes like a fish. "I was going to pay them back." "When? With what money?" Mark stares at the papers, then at his mother. "You stole my identity." "I borrowed it, for the family, for the house." "You committed fraud." I correct. "Identity theft. Credit fraud. Federal crimes." Mark sinks onto the porch steps, head in his hands. The locksmith works steadily, pretending not to hear the family drama unfolding around him. "I won't press charges," I tell Mark. "Yet." "But those credit cards get paid off and closed within 30 days. Or I file a police report." "You wouldn't," Eleanor says. "That would hurt Mark." "No, you hurt Mark. I'm just showing him the damage." Patricia's phone rings. She answers, her face growing increasingly grim. Yes. I heard." "No, it's true. The whole thing." She hangs up. "The country club is calling an emergency board meeting about your membership." Eleanor staggers as if slapped. "My membership. My father founded that club. And you can't afford the dues." I observe. "Haven't paid them in 4 months. according to the lien they filed. The locksmith finishes the back door, moves to the garage. Each new lock is another nail in the coffin of Eleanor's old life. By 2 p.m., every door has new hardware, and I hold a ring of keys that Eleanor once wielded like weapons of social supremacy. Here, I say, handing her a set of copies. 30 days, not 31, not 30 in a few hours. 30 days from yesterday at 7:45 p.m. She takes them with trembling fingers. I hope you rot in this house. I hope it brings you nothing but misery. It's just a house, Eleanor, bricks and wood and pretension. The fact that you think it's more than that is why you lost it. Mark stands. Decision made. I'm going to stay with Tom for a while. I need to think. His college roommate. Not his mother. Not me. The Swiss option. Your things will be in the garage, I tell him. The one at our apartment, not here. He nods and walks to his car without looking at any of us. Eleanor calls after him, but he doesn't stop. Patricia puts an arm around her sister, but Eleanor shrugs it off. 30 days, Eleanor says, drawing herself up with the last of her dignity. I'll be gone in 30 days, and then you'll have won. I won the moment I stopped caring about your approval, I reply. The house is just paperwork. The locksmith loads his van, and I hand him a check. The deputy, who's maintained his patient vigil, nods to me and drives away. The street returns to its suburban quiet, just another Friday afternoon in Raven Oaks. Eleanor and Patricia retreat inside my house, where they're now guests on borrowed time. I stand on the lawn, looking up at the windows, imagining it empty, staged for sale, transformed into something without the weight of Eleanor's history. My phone buzzes. David again. The video has 12,000 views on TikTok. You're viral. Cousin-in-law. I delete the message and walk to my car. There's paperwork to file, lawyers to meet, a marriage to end, and a house to sell. But first, I'm going to buy myself a bottle of wine, something expensive, something Eleanor would have chosen, and drink it from a paper cup in my hotel room. Because revenge, I've learned, doesn't taste sweet. It tastes like Cabernet and costs exactly what you're willing to pay. And I've paid in full. The afternoon light fades to amber through the leaded glass windows. Eleanor stands in what was her dining room, touching the table where 12 hours ago she held court, where the wine flew from her glass to my face, where her world cracked open like an egg. I need to call the movers, Patricia says softly. Not yet, Eleanor replies, her fingers tracing the wood grain she's polished for decades. Just not yet. The locksmith's van disappears around the corner. I remain on the lawn, new keys heavy in my hand, each one a small metal victory. The neighbors watch from behind curtains. I can feel their eyes, their judgment, their secret satisfaction. You know what the hardest part is, Eleanor says, appearing in the doorway. It's not losing the house. It's knowing you were smarter than me. I wasn't smarter. I was just paying attention while you were performing. She laughs, bitter as burned coffee. All those dinners, all those holidays. You sat there taking notes. I sat there being insulted. The notes came later. The wine. She starts, then stops. That was too much, even for me. It's not an apology, but it's the closest Eleanor Pike will ever come to one. I pocket the keys, their edges sharp against my palm. The developers will probably tear it down, I say, not kindly but factually. They'll build 4 houses where this one stands, maybe 5, all identical, all expensive, all without history. Good, Eleanor says, surprising me. Let it all be erased. Let every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every moment of false perfection be bulldozed into nothing. She looks at me directly for the first time since last night. We're both destroyers. Ava, I destroyed your dignity. You destroyed my life. I suppose that makes us even. We're not even. We're just done. Mark's text arrives at 4:17 p.m. Meeting with divorce lawyer Monday. We'll split everything 50-50 except the house. No, that's yours alone. I don't reply. There's nothing to split. Our apartment is a rental. Our savings negligible after I spent everything on Larkspur Holdings. Our marriage a shell that's been empty for years. Patricia helps Eleanor inside. Through the window, I watch them move through rooms that will soon be memories, past furniture that will be sold or stored, beneath portraits of ancestors who would be horrified by this reversal of fortune. The deed in my portfolio weighs nothing. A few sheets of paper, some official stamps, a transfer of ownership that took minutes to record but years to plan. Not years of deliberate scheming, but years of accumulated hurt that crystallized into action the moment I saw opportunity. I walked to my car one last time, past the oak trees Eleanor's grandfather planted, over the brick walkway her father laid, through the gate her mother had specially ordered from Italy. All mine now, all soon to be nothing but cleared land and profit margins. The sun sets at 5:23 p.m., painting the house golden for a moment before releasing it to shadow. Eleanor appears in an upstairs window, the master bedroom, where she's probably wondering how many more sunsets she'll see from that view. 29, if she uses every day. But she won't. Pride will drive her out sooner, unable to bear being a tenant in her own history. My phone rings. Dinah Calder. The video's everywhere, she says. Local news wants a statement. No statement. You sure you could control the narrative? The narrative is simple. Eleanor Pike lost her house to debt, and her daughter-in-law bought it legally. Everything else is just gossip. And the assault, documentation only, no charges unless necessary. You're being generous. I'm being practical. I want this over, not prolonged. The last thing I do before leaving is place a business card on the porch, not mine. But the demolition companies? Raven Oaks Development Solutions. We buy houses. Fast, cash offers. Let Eleanor find it in the morning with her coffee and contempt. I drive away at 5:41 p.m., watching the house shrink in my rearview mirror. Tomorrow there will be papers to sign, lawyers to meet, a marriage to officially end. But tonight, there's just a hotel room, a bottle of wine, and the strange hollowness of getting exactly what you wanted. At the Marriott, I pour the Cabernet into a real glass small rebellions matter and stand at the window watching the lights of Raven Oaks twinkle below. Somewhere down there, Eleanor Pike is learning what it feels like to be powerless in her own home. Somewhere, Mark is discovering his mother's betrayals run deeper than mine. Somewhere, the gossip mill churns, turning our family tragedy into tomorrow's entertainment. I raise my glass to no one, to everyone, to the woman who threw wine and the woman who threw it back in the only way that mattered legally, financially, finally. The deed sits on the hotel desk, mundane and magnificent. Just paper and ink and the American dream of property ownership, twisted into revenge served at exactly the right temperature. In 30 days, Eleanor will be gone. In 60 days, the house will be sold. In 90 days, this will all be a story people tell at parties, a cautionary tale about pride and falls and the daughter-in-law who didn't know her place until she owned it. But tonight, in this anonymous room with its corporate art and minibar prices that would make Eleanor scoff, I am exactly where I belong, alone, victorious, and holding all the keys. The wine tastes like nothing special, just grapes and thyme and the faint metallic tang of something ending. I close my eyes and hear it again, the sound of wine hitting my face. Eleanor's laughter, the silence before I pressed play on that TV remote, the quietest victory, fought with paper instead of fists, won with patience instead of violence. Cheers, I whisper to the empty room, to the deed on the desk, to the woman in the window's reflection who finally stopped trying to earn her place at someone else's table. The glass is empty. The sun is gone, and somewhere in a house that used to mean everything, Eleanor Pike is learning what I've always known, that home isn't about heritage or history or having your name on the deed. It's about power. And tonight, for the first time in 6 years, the power is mine. Thank you for listening to this story of sweet revenge and bitter wine. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this tale of Thanksgiving justice satisfied your appetite for karma, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Did Ava go too far? Or did Eleanor get exactly what she deserved? Let me know what you think.